Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay. We're dealing with some new technology here as we're all experiencing in this COVID world of ours, the challenges with that. But good morning and welcome to the Delta Chamber of Commerce virtual Fireside Chat. And thank you all for joining us here today. My name's Garry Shearer. I'm the Executive Director of the Delta Chamber of Commerce. And joining me virtually is the Honorable Ravi Kahlon, Minister of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation. Today, I'm broadcasting from the Delta Chamber office and would like to acknowledge the traditional territory of the Tsawwassen and Musqueam First Nations and all of the Hunkaminam speaking people who have been stewards of this land since time immemorial. I would also like to offer my respect to all the elders who have gone before us and to the elders and the First Nations people who are with us here today. We are privileged to have the following leaders logged into this presentation today. Representing the Honorable Carla Qualtrough, PC MP for Delta, Bernadette Kuznin. We have Yvonne Anderson, the current chair of the Delta Chamber of Commerce. We have Rob Allen, director of the Delta Chamber of Commerce. John Mancini, director, Delta Chamber of Commerce. We have Sean McGill, the city manager for Delta. Parm Gruel, director of public engagement and intergovernmental affairs with the city of Delta. And Mel Cheeseman, Director of Corporate Services. For the past year, the Delta Chamber of Commerce has been part of the economic recovery team for Delta. Delta's Community Resilience and Economic Recovery Support Team includes the City of Delta, North Delta Business Association, Ladner Business Association, Tsawwassen Business Improvement Association, and Tourism Delta, and the Delta Chamber of Commerce, of course. We have all been working together to provide support, resources, and promotional activities for our respective business communities. We also collaborated on the development of a We Love Delta campaign. I encourage you to visit the website at welovedelta.ca to continue support our local businesses. The theme of today's Fireside Chat is economic recovery and what post-pandemic life will look like for the community of Delta. Following our discussion, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions of Minister Kahlon. Events like this would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. I'd like to thank our annual sponsors, the Port of Vancouver, Global Container Terminals, Fortis BC, the City of Delta, Kwantlen Polytechnic University, and C-SPAN Ferries for their financial support of the Delta Chamber. And before we get started, I want to draw your attention to the tab marked Stage to the far right of your screen. And underneath that, the Slido tab, there'll be where you can post questions to the minister for the Q&A portion of this meeting. It is now my pleasure to introduce our guest, the Honorable Ravi Kahlon, Minister of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation. Ravi Kahlon was elected as the MLA for Delta North in May 2017 and re-elected in October 2020. Ravi is the Minister of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation. He is also the chair of the Cabinet Committee on Economy, Vice Chair of the Planning and Priorities Committee, and a member of the Appointments Committee. Born and raised in Victoria, Ravi was introduced to field hockey by his father and grandfather. He is a two-time Olympian in the sport for Team Canada, has been inducted into the Delta Sports Hall of Fame. Prior to his election as MLA, Ravi spent 7 years in banking and another 6 years in the Democratic Caucus as Director of Stakeholder Relations. Ravi has been active in the North Delta community for many years as a volunteer in the boards of the Delta Parks and Recreation Committee and Men's High Performance Field Hockey BC. He's also a certified coach and mentor to many youths in North Delta and spends time coaching field hockey and soccer. Ravi lives in North Delta with his wife Lily and son Naven. Ravi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Gary. And it's a pleasure to be with everyone today virtually. I bring greetings on behalf of Premier John Horgan. And also let me start off by acknowledging that I am today on the territory of the Lekwung speaking people, known as the Esquimalt and Songhees Nations. I'd also like to take a moment just to thank you, Gary, and everyone at the Delta Chamber and all the work that happens behind the scenes to make these events possible. Thank you for inviting me to speak to your members today. Since becoming minister, I've made it a priority to engage with chambers of commerce, business owners, and industry organizations. Your input is critically important. I often say that government doesn't have a monopoly on good ideas. The best programs and policies are created through collaboration. I want you to know that we're listening. the province is committed to working on our economic recovery plans with you. In fact, the BC government has provided more supports per capita than any province in Canada. British Columbia, we entered this pandemic as an economic leader in Canada. We had low unemployment and strong job growth. The second wave of the pandemic has been a long struggle. As many of your members will know, the new health orders are in place now to act as a circuit breaker to stop the rising case counts. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to come together to follow the new amended PHA orders and our efforts with their increased access of vaccines so that we can all get back on track. To help businesses that have been shut down by the new orders, my ministry is working on a relief package that in fact will be announced a couple hours from now. Sorry, Gary, I won't be announcing it live here today. But since the economic low point last April, BC has been fortunate. We've seen 10 consecutive months of job growth. We've recovered almost all the jobs that we lost from the start of the pandemic. However, we know that significant challenges remain for sectors where the pandemic continues to interfere with operations, particularly for those in hospitality, tourism, and the personal service sectors. Some businesses in these sectors won't be able to return to full capacity until we're through the crisis. This pandemic, though, has revealed that hardships are not evenly distributed. Indigenous, Black, people of color, women, young people continue to be vulnerable to lost hours, lost revenues, and higher unemployment. As Dr. Henry often says, we're all in the same storm, or we're all in different boats. Some of us are weathering the storm better than others. That's why we're working on building a more inclusive economy that does not leave people behind in the recovery. My ministry, the Ministry of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation, has a very broad mandate. We've been working with a team of very dedicated public servants working on programs for small business, for tech sector, for manufacturing, shipbuilding, aerospace, aviation, and mass timber. We also cover export development and strategic investment and trade agreements. The common thread that runs through all these different portfolios and files is our approach to economic recovery. Our approach to economic recovery is guided by three key pillars: innovation, sustainability, and inclusiveness. Innovation, because this pandemic has accelerated the pace of change, and the innovation is needed more than ever to adapt to the changes. Things we expected to happen 5 to 7 years from now are happening right now. The way we work, the way we study, shop, even the way we communicate like we are today are changing rapidly, forcing businesses to innovate to keep up. We're here to support those efforts to innovate and pivot to whatever this new normal will look like. Secondly is sustainability, because we cannot ignore climate change. As all of you know, BC is a world leader in clean, renewable energy. We're also a responsible, low carbon producer of natural resources and manufactured goods. We're working to make sustainability a larger part of British Columbia's brand and our global competitive advantage. Thirdly, inclusiveness, because we're committed to building an economic recovery that works for everyone. This means improving childcare so more women can return to work, expanding our workforce. This means taking steps to advance reconciliation. We owe it to the people on whose territory that we live and work on to make meaningful progress. This means helping underrepresented people gain the skills and experience they need to get good jobs in tech, healthcare, and construction. We need Indigenous, Black, people of color, communities to be at the table, otherwise we'll never reach the true potential of British Columbia. All of this removes barriers so that more talent and skill can rise up and make our economy as productive as possible. Stronger BC, which many of you have heard of already, our $1.5 billion economic recovery plan, was created with a focus on innovation, sustainability, and inclusiveness. The plan will fortify BC's healthcare system and expand critical public services. It will help thousands of people reskill for jobs and will provide thousands of businesses with resources to help them adapt and grow. The most recent example of this will help improve food security and efficiency in agriculture sector is the Agritech Grant Program. This program will spark the growth of innovation in agriculture and help jobs and improve food security. We announced 2 weeks ago that 21 businesses that will receive grants ranging from $150,000 to $500,000. We also recently introduced the Agritech Concierge Service to support food producers and agritech innovators to grow and access new markets while addressing challenges being faced by the agriculture industry today. Delta is such an important hub for agriculture in BC. With some of the best farmland in the province, paired with good transportation infrastructure, there is significant potential for growth in agritech. Earlier, we unveiled a new program under Stronger BC called Launch Online. This program provides grants to help businesses build their online sales so they can have the opportunity to not only become more competitive, but also grow. This program was so popular that we invested an additional $30 million to expand the eligibility requirements. These enhancements include provisions for 30% of the funds to be reserved for businesses owned by Indigenous, Black, and people of color. Stronger BC also includes the small and medium-sized recovery grant program. This grant helps businesses recover while taking on more debt. It also includes additional funds for the tourism sector. Of course, I can't talk to the Delta Chamber without talking about George Massey Crossing. I couldn't come here today without talking about it. I know Gary would probably raise it if I didn't. One of my colleagues, Rob Fleming, Minister for Transportation and Infrastructure, has said our priority has always been to get the right project for the region. We work closely with Indigenous groups, regional mayors, and I'm grateful for the efforts of Mayor Harvey in this to get this project right. The businesses, which include the 2 shortlisted options presented to the public in an 8-lane bridge or an 8-lane immersed tube tunnel. Our next steps are to review the submission, consult with our partners to make the best decision possible. We're working actively with the federal counterparts as well on this right now. We'll also be thoroughly reviewing the business case, mindful that we're not moving forward to make final decisions without bringing all our partners on board. In closing, I'll say that I don't think I need to tell anybody on this call that it's been a difficult year. COVID-19 has tested us all, and not all businesses and communities are struggling, but those that are struggling really need our support. And we're prepared to invest in people and invest in businesses to restore economic growth. While there's so much more work to be done, I'm confident we'll continue to make progress together. And I'm grateful to your partnership and your ongoing commitment to economic development. With that, Gary, I thank you again for inviting me and look forward to the questions that your members may have.
Well, thank you very much, Ravi, for those opening comments, and thank you for all the work that you do. I know in your previous role as our North Delta MLA, you were always crossing boundaries of different ministries, advocating for our community, and now in your new role, you belong to the whole province and not just North Delta. But thank you for your continued commitment to our community. Ravi, I love the analogy of we're all in the same storm in different boats, and how different businesses are being impacted and seeing different results of this past pandemic year. And it just seems that our small business sector is the one that seems to be in the rockiest part of these seas, and in our in these unfortunately leaky boats that we're just trying to keep patched up and keep them going. And a lot of it seems to be around just the red tape, the red tape that they have to go through in order to access some of these programs. You mentioned the Launch Online and the SME recovery grants, and we're still hearing from the small business community how the frustrations of red tape in trying to get through to these grants and to get access to them. What can you provide as far as is there any changes, or is there anything that we can be doing as a chamber to advocate or to help the province and help our small businesses gain access to these very important tools that you've given us?
Yeah, I appreciate your comments, Gary, and I'll just start off by acknowledging that it's been hard. It's been a hard year, and some of the smaller businesses have disproportionately been impacted. And I highlighted some of the sectors that have fared the worst of some of the COVID pandemic challenges. I'll say that and I've shared this with you, Gary. My family ran a restaurant for a decade, a family restaurant. And when I say family, I mean like the entire family working in the restaurant, and it was hard then. And the challenge during a pandemic is it's hard to imagine, and it's hard to fully understand unless you're fully in it. We're proud here in British Columbia. We have the highest per capita supports for people and businesses from any province in Canada. The highest, and that it's not even close, to be honest with you, and the dollars that we put on the table. And I think that's why when you look at all the economists predicting economic recovery, they see BC as the highest. I think those dollars wasn't a spend, it was an investment in our businesses and our communities. In particular, I know that we've heard when I became minister some challenges with the Small Business Recovery Grant Program. And at that time, we met with the chamber, we met with many organizations, and they made recommendations at the time to make changes. And on December 21st, we accepted all the changes that were recommended. Of course, the pandemic has changed, the needs have changed, and we've changed our programs accordingly. Just about a month ago, I met with the stakeholders and said, what further changes can we make to this program to make it easier? And we did that. In fact, we are now paying bookkeepers and accountants to build a recovery plan for businesses. And if they need any supports in applying, that they can, and they have. We've seen a huge surge in applications from businesses coming in. Just this weekend alone, I saw 1,500 fully submitted applications come in from businesses across BC. So we know that the changes we've made to the programs have worked. Launch Online, which is a fantastic program, which is it's broader than just supporting businesses in the pandemic. We know there's a major shift happening in our economy and consumer buying habits, and we know we need to support our businesses in having the tech and the digital and the online presence to be able to pivot and be prepared. And I'll put this in context. Our program is $40 million. That's how much Ontario government has put in this program, and they have 3 times the size of our economy. So we're serious about this investment, and we know it's going a long way. And the amount of businesses that have stepped up to ask for those dollars or submit for those dollars reflects that that need is real and is there.
Thank you, Ravi. I guess we'll continue to work with some of these specific issues that we have with some of our members in our small businesses. But yeah, if we can do anything to increase or decrease the red tape and the availability to our small business sector, that would be great. And you mentioned restaurants. As you know, Ravi, this past week ago Monday, when the health orders came out to shut down in dining, that just had a significant impact on particularly our smaller restaurant business owners, and just not having the advance notice or warning when food was ordered, staff were hired, and then just immediately to have all that shut down was just a significant impact on that particular community. And I know you were speaking with Fiona from BC Chamber yesterday about looking at ways that we can, along with the public health office, be looking at the same numbers or monitoring the things that you're monitoring to make the decisions that you're making to shut down certain parts of the economy. Can you tell us or share with us what changes might be made in that particular area so that we're not caught with our pants down, as to use a crude term, in future when these kinds of health orders come out?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. And yeah, it was a great conversation with Fiona yesterday. By the way, an excellent person for the role of being a spokesperson for the BC Chamber and representing many of the concerns that your members are raising to you. We discussed a whole host of issues, but I think it's important to put in context the decision making around in a pandemic. In a pandemic, the provincial health officer and her office have overseeing powers to make decisions they feel are appropriate to keep people safe. Dr. Henry has expressed publicly on a couple of press conferences last week that the week prior to the decision, they were seeing some alarming signals in their daily tracking. They were seeing the numbers were going from 6% a day of coming back positive to 8 to over the weekend 10.8, which are critical levels. And so because of those metrics and seeing that surge, they knew they needed to take action. And Dr. Henry has the ability to take action when she sees fit to keep the public safe, because that is the number one priority during a pandemic, is to save lives and keep people safe. We were notified on Sunday night that there was a problem in the increase in numbers. My staff worked overnight to bring stakeholders together to share with them what was coming. And I appreciate there's some businesses that have come to me and said, if we had another 24-hour notice, it would have helped. And yes, I agree that some businesses it would have helped. But of course, there's a flip side, which is what we've seen in another province, which gave a 48-hour notice and was lambasted for not taking action needed right away and why waiting 48 hours. And so it's difficult in hindsight to look back at those decisions and say which one was the right one. We hear every single day, I hear in particular, but my colleagues as well, two large noises. One is saying keep things open, and one is why aren't you shutting down things like Ontario in their third wave? So it's very difficult making decisions in a pandemic. There's going to be many books written about decision making in pandemics, but we are doing the decisions, making decisions the best we can, and we're letting Dr. Henry use science and the data that she has to make the decisions that she thinks is best to keep people safe. That's a priority. That being said, we know businesses have been impacted by this. I know personally, I've been losing sleep on the fact that I know that I've spoken way too many businesses in the 5 months that I've been in this role to know how challenging this is for them. They've worked so hard to put measures in to keep themselves safe, their people that they work with safe, and their customers safe. So I recognize those sacrifices, and I recognize the challenge this puts on many of them who haven't been able to have the patio set up. It's hard. So again, I'll have more to say on that a little bit later today. There's no dollars we can put out that will solve all the problems of every business, but certainly we're looking to support as many as we can, and we will do that.
Thank you, Ravi, for that response. We are looking forward to hearing your noon announcements to see what other supports we can look forward to. Thank you for that. So we have a question that's come up. You did bring up the tunnel. I didn't have to bring that up. Tunnel replacement. So we're still. We've heard about the business case being released the last fall, early year, and so we're still waiting for the business case. What exactly is holding all this up? You mentioned a couple of things with regards to stakeholders, but we've studied this crossing issue for a number of years, and there's been a lot of paperwork generated on this. What specifically are we waiting for in order to get this business case out?
Well, there's a couple comments I'll make, and I'll avoid getting partisan. But the work that had been done when we had an independent person come in was clear that it wasn't adequate. And so that being said, we have proposals in front of us. It's on time, as the minister had said. It was going to come out before the end of last year, which it did. We're talking to our federal counterparts about financial supports, and I know that our minister who represents us is a strong advocate on finding a solution. And so we want to make sure that whatever solution is brought forward, it doesn't have tolls, that is paid for by the taxpayer dollars that we all invest in. And so there'll be more on that in the very short order. I don't want to get ahead of potential announcements the Minister of Transportation may want to make, but again, we're working with our federal counterparts to make sure that it fits within what they would like to see and what we would like to see.
Okay, thank you for that response. Ravi, with regards to economic development in British Columbia, and you mentioned in your comments, there are some industries that are doing very well in this pandemic, and I guess we hope that it's not just the pandemic that's creating these economic opportunities, and that whatever uptake that they're seeing, that it will be sustainable after we get back to the new normal. But what areas of the economy are you seeing from your perspective that are doing very well, and how could we, maybe look at focusing on some of those areas with some of our maybe smaller businesses looking at different sectors of the economy to be focusing on to help with their businesses?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question, and I think that we have huge opportunities ahead of us. Of course, we're in a pandemic and it's during challenging times, but some of the work we're doing in our ministry is looking at not where we'll be next year, but where will we be in 10 years and 20 years from now. And so, there's a couple of sectors that I'm particularly excited about. I think that we have huge opportunities in life sciences. We have been able to help be part of the solution here in British Columbia for the vaccine. When it comes to COVID, we have some of the leading R&D happening here at our universities, and so we're certainly keen to see how we can grow the life sciences sector. It's one of the fastest. The BC life science sector is one of the fastest growing in the country. And we don't see that that changing in any direction anytime soon. And so we're actively working with them on how we can find ways to support that. Of course, I've touched on agritech. I think there's phenomenal opportunities with agritech. I've written op-eds on this prior to becoming minister, and I know you have as well, Gary, from the chamber. And we're looking at a whole host of companies that are doing exciting things there. Of course, in the movement to address climate change, we think BC is well positioned. And so there's a couple of things there. One, we already are producing some of the cleanest products in the world, which is remarkable to think of. I know we hear sometimes that we should do this and we should do that. Of course, we always want to be better. We want to continuously be in the lead, but we are doing pretty damn well here in British Columbia, producing natural resources that are the cleanest in the world. Our manufacturing sector is doing very well. Our supply chains are very green. Of course, we're going to continue to find ways to improve that. We have great opportunities with hydrogen. The Minister Ralston is working actively on a hydrogen strategy for British Columbia. Recently, we announced discounted hydro rates for any company that is looking to produce hydrogen, whether that's blue or green. And we think British Columbia, with its clean grid, provides an excellent opportunity, and low cost energy provides an excellent base for the hydrogen industry to take off. And of course, we know there's companies in Delta that are working actively in that space. Also in the tech sector, I think we have opportunities with AR, VR. There's a lot of interest in how we can advance that, and a whole host of other measures. So there's a lot of sectors that I'm looking at that we think we have natural opportunities in, but also we're looking at the story that we tell internationally. And recently I met with the U.S. ambassador, and we talked about the new Biden administration and their interest in becoming a leader again in climate change, and how British Columbia is well positioned to help them, both with our products, but also with our climate change solutions. And so we see some opportunities there as well that we'll be exploring, and certainly helping other countries meet their climate change goals is something that we're focused on.
Well, thank you for that. Ravi, we're gonna go back to our COVID world here for a moment, and one of the things that we're seeing in other provinces with regards to testing is the implementation of some rapid testing technologies that businesses could actually utilize at their business locations. And we have an example of some chambers in Ontario who are facilitating the distribution of these rapid test technologies to businesses so that they can monitor their employees and ensure the safety of their workplace. I believe this has been brought up with the public health office within BC, and there seems to be some resistance to implementing this kind of technology. Any comments on that?
Well, I wouldn't say resistance. I think that Dr. Henry and the team are using their science-based decision making and using what they think is actually effective and accurate. And so if there's anything out there that they feel that meets the test and is effective at giving accurate data, we are using it and we are deploying it. And we are using rapid testing in care homes. We're using rapid testing in school environments where it hasn't been many, but when we've seen cases, multiple cases in classrooms, we've gone in there and used it. So we are using some of that wherever we think it's targeted and the best use. And so I appreciate that this question has come up to us before. In fact, we have I call it the COVID Super Committee, which is a 65 organization. Of course, BC Chamber is represented there. And this question has come up multiple times, and Dr. Henry's answered it very clearly, which is we are using it where we think it can be used and best deployed, and we're using it based on where we think the effectiveness of that test is the most accurate. And those testing are used in business community right now. If you look at the film and television sector, they are using those tests right now. It's not as accurate as the testing that we do as a province, but they're still using that. The Canucks were using that as well. There's not a foolproof way of keeping COVID out, and that's an example of that. And they were using that test every, I believe, 2 days, testing their athletes, and they still have 25 athletes and coaches that have COVID. And so we're using every tool that we have in the best targeted way that we can. And the number one thing right now is contact tracing, which we continue to invest heavily in.
Well, thanks for that. But Ravi, any tools that we can get our hands on that, can certainly help our businesses at least manage and plan their work safety issues would be very helpful. So if there's anything that can be done to look at that for our business community. On top of that, we have businesses that are, looking for some direction with regards to vaccinations for their employees. If they're not on a essential services list, there's no indication as to when a business can get all of their employees as a business vaccinated. Is there any considerations or thoughts as to how we can have businesses apply for a vaccination program when vaccines become more readily available?
Yeah, on the question of vaccination, there was a decision made by Dr. Henry and Minister Dix to use the vaccines in situations where workers were the most vulnerable. Many industrial sites have been vaccinated in congregate settings, whether that's farm environment or whether that's in tourism cities or like ski resorts, for example. And so right now we have a limited supply. And I appreciate the supply is increasing, which is a good thing. We're starting to see a little bit more every week, which is very positive. But until we have that supply, we're going to have to be very targeted, and we're going to have to be very methodical in where we use it. And it's being based on the science. I get messages all the time saying, "What about my group? What about us?" And I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody wants to be vaccinated. Like yesterday, I certainly wish my family was all vaccinated as well. But we are using this limited supply we have the best way we can. We had an aggressive plan with AstraZeneca, and then with the pause to look at the data, it threw the plan off. And so, just to put this in context for those that work with supply chains and manage complex supply chains, imagine being notified that you can't get this vaccine out in the plan that you have, and you have 48 hours to find other mechanisms to get that supply out, or else it won't, or it'll go bad. And we were able to do that with our pharmacy partners. It wasn't perfect, but it was what we need to do in a pandemic, which is be nimble and flexible and find solutions, and that's what we did there.
Thank you. We're all looking forward to getting vaccinated. I was actually able to get the AstraZeneca vaccine yesterday, and I'm feeling fine. So
good.
I'm anyone
it makes me very happy, Gary, every time I hear someone say I got vaccinated, and so congrats.
No, thank you. All right. So moving on to some other questions, the concern obviously with a lot of these government programs that so much needed programs that are supporting our businesses and the money being spent, the concern down the road with regards to our provincial budgets and the impact of businesses. Any insights on where we're going to be looking to get the tax dollars to fund a lot of these programs, and any concerns with regards to business taxes or the impact of businesses to pay for these programs in the future?
Well, the Premier's been clear that there will be no new taxes during a pandemic, and certainly the question of how we're going to pay for it, it's an interesting question, because I've heard from not any business associations, but certainly from people in the community saying, well, why are we even spending money on businesses? Like if they fail, when the pandemic is over, they'll find a way, and it's a free market, and they'll find a way to come back. And so why are we even doing that? And so we reject that notion. We think that the dollars that we're investing, and by the way, the federal government's making sizable investments as well, is investments in our business community to keep them afloat, so that because we know the cost will be much greater if we don't make that now. And so this is a challenge that we're not alone in. This is a challenge across the world. Every government is challenging it, but we are in the best fiscal position in British Columbia from any other province in the country. Not only do we invest the highest per capita in a very targeted way, and which was, I believe, very effective, but we also are well positioned for the strongest economic recovery and the strongest growth from any province in the country. So I think those two things position us well, and we'll have to continue to see where we go. I don't have a magic crystal ball to say where we're going to be in 2 years from now and where businesses will be at. But all the third-party economists that are giving us opinions are telling us that we're in a good place, and brighter days are ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Ravi. We're coming up to 45 minutes, and I know we had committed to you to respect your schedule. And so before we close things off, any closing comments to our members?
Yeah, I just want to say, Gary, thank you again. Thank you for inviting me. I'm always happy to come back and chat with you. I was speaking to some chambers in the interior and was telling them that to come talk to you if they ever wanted meetings, because you've got the federal minister, the provincial minister, and a pretty great mayor and council team here in Delta, and you've got access to everyone. But I'm happy to come back whenever you need. Again, very proud of the supports we have in place. We'll be sharing some additional news in 1 hour with the public on how we can further support businesses. And again, we're going to continue to monitor, continue to be nimble through a challenging time in our history. And I just will close with saying, hope everyone takes a moment to pause, to connect with family and reflect on how difficult this has been on everyone. Some have lost loved ones. Some are just going through very challenging times, and it's important to pay attention to mental health and take care of ourselves during this challenging time.
So Ravi, I'm getting my team here telling me that there was some more questions. Okay. Let me just refresh here.
So you're not letting me go. I love it.
Apparently, I'm not letting you go.
I'm happy to take a couple more.
Okay, just a second. All right, so I have one here on housing affordability.
Yeah.
As we know, the real estate market has been very hot here in the Lower Mainland particularly, and I think some of the outlying regions are starting to see the impact of it as well. But can you speak to what the government's looking at with regards to dealing with affordable housing and how we can address that at a provincial level?
Yeah, and I appreciate the question. It's a major issue. It's a major issue, and it's a reminder that the economy is not out on its own without the social infrastructure that is critical to keep the economy going. Mm-hmm. So every investment we make in housing, every dollar of investment we make in childcare, every dollar investment we make in our K-12 or advanced education, or to address mental health and addiction, is helping the economy and helping our businesses. So I just want to say that off the top, because I think that the pandemic has shown us that it's all one. It's not actually go to your corners and do what you do. It's all interconnected. And so the question is an excellent one. I know the Attorney General now has the responsibility to find more housing solutions. Certainly, you'll be seeing a lot more from Housing Hub, from the BC Housing Hub. We're having particular challenges with our shelters not being able to have the traditional amount of people that normally are in them. And we're seeing a lot more challenges with street homelessness, which we've been taking aggressive action on, whether that's buying old hotels or leasing out spaces to house people to provide the basic necessities. You're going to see continued investments and focused in childcare. During March, during the most challenging time of the pandemic, we saw a massive decline in employment in women, disproportionately higher than men, and that's directly correlated to when schools and daycares were shut down. Of course, there's a bigger discussion about sexism and why it is that women disproportionately have to take on the challenges of raising families. That's a bigger topic, I think, but it's a clear example of how childcare in schools are critically important for seeing more women get into the workforce. So we're going to continue to invest in housing, in childcare, of course, working with our federal partners on the housing front, because if we don't provide enough affordable housing, there's no strategy in the world for attracting some of the biggest companies to British Columbia. And we're seeing that. I mean, Microsoft just announced 500 new jobs. We're seeing new investments through a pandemic still coming into BC at large dollars, and so. But with that, we need housing, we need childcare, and that's something we're going to continue to focus on.
Excellent, thank you, Ravi. And I think that will be the last question, and we'll let you go because I know you got a big announcement coming up at noon, and we're really looking forward to hearing that. So, Ravi, thank you very much for taking the time today and giving us your insights. And I know it's got to be challenging to be able to satisfy everybody's needs as we navigate through this pandemic, and each day bringing different challenges and opportunities. So I appreciate your leadership and providing us with the with your talents and moving our economy forward. With that, I would like to again thank our annual sponsors, the Port of Vancouver, Global Containers, Fortis BC, the City of Delta, Kwantlen Polytechnical University, and C-SPAN Ferries, again for giving us the opportunity to put on events like this. As we conclude today's program, I'd like to again thank Minister Kahlon for taking this time to address our business community, and to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us here today. We hope that you enjoyed this format, and we look forward to seeing you again next Friday, April 16th, for a virtual town hall with Erin O'Toole, the leader of the official federal opposition. And with that, we'll close off today's program, and thank you very much for joining us here today. Have a great day.